The Netflix series Narcos brought to life one of the most violent and fascinating chapters in modern history: the rise of the Colombian drug cartels and the global cocaine trade. Premiering in 2015, the show dramatizes real events from the 1970s through the 1990s, focusing primarily on the infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar and the efforts of law enforcement to bring him down. While the series uses cinematic storytelling and intense performances, much of the story is rooted in real historical events that reshaped Colombia and influenced international drug policy for decades. Pablo Escobar was born in 1949 in rural Colombia and rose from petty crime to become the head of the powerful Medellín Cartel. During the late 1970s and 1980s, as cocaine demand surged in the United States, Escobar built a vast trafficking network that smuggled tons of cocaine into North America. At the height of his power, he was believed to control as much as 80% of the world's cocaine supply and amassed a fortune worth billions of dollars. His wealth allowed him to live extravagantly, but it also enabled him to gain support among Colombia's poor by funding housing projects, soccer fields, and community initiatives. To some in Medellín, he was a benefactor. To others, he was a ruthless criminal responsible for terror and bloodshed. As his influence expanded, Escobar sought political legitimacy and even served as an alternate member of Colombia's Congress. However, when his criminal activities were exposed and the Colombian government agreed to extradite traffickers to the United States, Escobar declared war. The late 1980s became one of the darkest periods in Colombian history. Judges, journalists, politicians, and police officers were assassinated. Bombings shook cities, including the 1989 destruction of Avianca Flight 203. Fear dominated daily life as Escobar attempted to pressure the government into canceling extradition treaties. The United States supported Colombia by sending Drug Enforcement Administration agents whose efforts are central to the narrative of Narcos, including the real-life experiences of DEA agent Steve Murphy, who also served as a consultant for the series. In 1991, Escobar surrendered under extraordinary conditions. He was allowed to build and stay in his own prison, known as La Catedral. The so-called prison was more like a luxury compound, complete with amenities and loyal guards, and from there he continued to run his criminal empire. When the government attempted to move him to a standard facility, Escobar escaped, reigniting a massive manhunt. In December 1993, Colombian security forces located him in Medellín, and he was killed during a rooftop shootout. His death marked the end of Medellín cartel dominance, but it did not end the drug trade. Following Escobar's fall, the focus shifted to the rival Cali cartel, which operated with a quieter and more business-like strategy. Unlike Escobar's open violence, the Cali leaders relied heavily on bribery and infiltration of political and financial institutions. Season 3 of Narcos explores this transition, demonstrating how the drug trade adapted rather than disappeared. Eventually, the Cali leadership was also dismantled, but new trafficking routes and organizations soon emerged. The franchise later expanded with Narcos, Mexico, shifting attention to the rise of Mexican cartels and figures such as Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, as well as the tragic killing of DEA agent Kiki Camarena. This continuation illustrated how the cocaine trade evolved geographically, with Mexico becoming a central hub for trafficking into the United States. The violence and corruption associated with the drug war persisted, proving that the dismantling of one cartel often created opportunities for another. While Narcos is widely praised for its storytelling, it blends fact with dramatization. Major events, assassinations, and political tensions depicted in the show are historically accurate, but timelines were condensed and certain characters were fictionalized or combined for narrative clarity. Nevertheless, the series sparked global interest in Colombia's history and opened discussions about the human cost of the drug trade. It also raised ethical questions about portraying criminals as charismatic anti-heroes, reminding viewers that behind the cinematic tension were thousands of real victims and families affected by violence. Today, Medellín has transformed into a city known for innovation, tourism, and cultural revival. Yet the legacy of the cartel era remains deeply embedded in its history. The story of Narcos is not merely about drugs and crime. It is about power, corruption, social inequality, and the consequences of unchecked ambition. It reflects how organized crime can thrive in environments of poverty and political instability, and how the fight against it can reshape nations. Through its dramatic lens, Narcos tells a story that is both gripping entertainment and a sobering reminder of a turbulent chapter in modern history.